most of the Kenyans are really either excited, disappointed, whatever the feelings you have about what the president just said about the issue of drugs. And he said those who are dealing with hard drugs, that is cocaine, all these other drugs, hard ones, they will be imprisoned or sentenced to death. There are sentences to death, and people are really lamenting on social media, or are really complaining, and they are giving their sentiments, passing their whatever their issues, asking the president to go and to go to his cabinet, because that is where the barons are, the people who enable those transactions and the selling of that hard stuff that is hard on, and start with them. Then they will know that he's serious. Let me tell you one thing: President William Samuel Ruto is dead serious on this. He is dead serious on this. He's not bluffing. He's not bluffing. But you know, again, the law is so hard to the people, to the common citizens like me and you, but not to the who's who have money. Because those who have money can always bribe themselves around, because there's no one who doesn't love money. Every heart needs money. Every person needs money. And if money is poured on the table in dollars and millions of Kenyan shillings, there are people who can change their mind and offer justice where justice is not supposed to be offered. Yeah, it's only God who cannot be bribed. But all these other leaders, it doesn't matter. All these other people, any other human being anywhere can be bribed, because everyone loves money. But do you know why Ruto said that? And do you know the force behind it? Okay, let me explain to you guys. I know most of you might know, some of you might know, but most of you don't understand. You've just seen whatever is happening in the US, between the US and Venezuela. It's not just the US and Venezuela. Colombia is also involved in whatever is happening. The United States Navy, or Delta Force, went to Venezuela and arrested or captured the Venezuelan president. This thing has brought a lot of issues on social, the international leaders. Other international leaders are talking about it, and they are condemning. Some are condemning, some are approving, some are saying it's okay, some are remaining neutral, because again, there are other things involved in that. And the main reason why the US went, or Trump gave an order for this guy to go to capture the Venezuelan president, that is Nicolas Maduro, it has been a narrative that has been there for the longest. It started with El Chapo. It came to these other guys, and the other guys that are not mentioned here and there, the fathers of that cartel, different cartels in Venezuela and Colombia. They have always been there, and they have been working. And the funny thing is that all these things that they produce, all the drugs that are produced in these countries, they end up in the streets of US. Now, enabling or rendering the US young people, and majority of the people in the US, rendering them not able to do work, not able to work, or not able to do all this. Okay, they become, what do we call, the walking dead. They don't understand themselves unless they use those fentanyls, they use those drugs and all that. And it becomes more cheaper. They have found a way of making it more cheap and all that. So the issue over here is not how they are made. The issue is the drugs that gather themselves on the streets of the US. And Trump, being a president, he has decided to clean the US streets from the drugs. And for him to do that, he thought the best way is to start with the drug barons. The drug barons in the US, the drug barons in Colombia, the drug barons everywhere, and to do away with the immigration. And he has succeeded in that, deporting some illegal immigrants. He has succeeded in that. And someone said US is becoming a better country, so Trump will want it to be great again, because his campaign slogan was "Make America Great Again," and that is what he's doing. So the thing is, all these drugs, they are supplied around the world, and Kenya is not an exception of this. Kenya is just part of the people who also use these drugs. So if the US will not allow the drugs to get to the US, if the US closes all her borders in a good way, that they're not infiltration of drugs getting into the US, probably those drugs will be sold in other nations. Those drugs will be sold in other nations. And because there is what Trump is trying to cover up that most people don't understand, but I'll make you understand in a very short while, he has to also look into the other nations that the US has interest in, or that have US installations, to make sure that those countries are also implementing the US laws or the US concerns in their own countries, to stop the same things from happening in those countries. And because Kenya is a very fertile land for such drugs and all that, there is a probability that those drugs that don't end up in the US will end up in Kenya. There is a probability that those drugs don't end up in the California, all those cities, New York, all those cities of the US and UK, We'll end up where? We'll end up in third world countries as Kenya. So the issue is not the people who use the drugs. The issue here is that Trump is afraid of is the money that comes out of the selling of the drugs, because it's benefiting the drug barons and the cartels, and those cartels are also fueling and supporting some criminal activities or terrorist activities around the world. So the main thing is not about the money and the drugs himself. The main thing is where this money goes, the activities that this money supports. And most of these activities are terror activities around the world. And that is what Trump is trying to cut. He knows if I cut this, if I destroy this, there'll be no supply of money to the terrorist activities around the world. And therefore, if these terrorists don't have money, then it means they cannot continue the activities. So there'll be less of terrorism activities around the world. And he would have gained and became the best president with the United States, leading at a time where there's no terror activities. Now you understand why. The reason why Kenya will also implement that, Kenya is also a fertile land for terrorism activities, especially to the US installments in the country. And the US has invested a lot in this country, and they wouldn't want anyone to touch or any terror activity to target her people or her installments within Kenya. So the best way is, let's cut all the channels possible and make sure that there is no flow of money around the drugs activities and all that. So that is why the president of Kenya, William Samoei Ruto, has given a stern warning to every person who either uses the drugs or sells the drugs, by telling them that if you are found with these hard drugs, then your sentence will be death. You'll be given a death sentence. It's more of a scary thing. Yes, it's more of a scary thing. But does it mean that drugs will not be sold? I don't know. I don't sell them, so I don't know whether they will continue selling them or not. But the idea over here is, Kenya is not just implementing her own rules, but it's also implementing the US concerns and the US rules within the country. Because, again, we all understand what we call things that we call the geopolitics. They have to work, and they have to work the way the lords want them to work. It's not all about me and you. It's about who are who's outside there. Those people who run the world. They want things their way, and things will go as they want them to go. So, it is what it is. We'll come back to the next chapter and the next thing later. But before you leave, as usual, please, the only way to keep us on air and support us is to simply subscribe. Subscribe, leave your comment, and share some of our content if you find it so much interesting and educative. I know it's eye-opening. There are things that you never knew, now you know. Bye. Until next time.